We all spend so much time in deciding the home theater equipments that we rarely pay attention to one of the most important, yet, as I said, not paid attentive thing in the home theater, that is your speaker cable. Now, I always say this to my clients that cables are like veins in your body, which are connecting one part to the other. And we concentrate more on the organs or the parts, but we rarely pay attention to the veins. And these veins can cause a lot of trouble to these parts if at all they are not proper, or there's some blood clot in it, or there is some flow obstruction. And with regards to the home theater, it's the same. How much ever you spend on the equipments or how much better the equipments would be, but if at all your cabling is not done properly, or if you have not thought thoroughly about what sort of cables you need to buy for home theaters, you might end up damaging your products, you might end up losing up on a great experience, and you might face challenges in terms of certain frequency loss or certain sound loss or video loss if at all we don't pay attention to the cable. I'm Tanmay Mehta, your home technology consultant at Touchwood Automations, and in this video, we are going to talk about best speaker cables that you need to buy for your home theater. We are also going to talk about different gauges, because I know many people have these questions that what sort of gauge should I buy for my home theater. So we are going to cover a lot of topics related to speaker cable. Okay. And before I begin, I want one small help from you. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel right here, right now, because your subscription encourages me to continue doing these videos which are helping each one of you with better, well-informed and correct decisions when it comes to buying anything and everything in home technology industry. Three things that you will come across while buying home theater speaker cable is, let's say, the shape of the cable, the size or the thickness of the cable, and the gauge of the cable. So these are the three important parameters that you'll always come across while buying home theater speaker cable, and these parameters might confuse you as to what should you really buy. Now we'll start with the shape of the cable. So you have got flat cable, which is a little bit like this, which is flat. Then you have got regular cylindrical shaped cables. Then you have got armored cables. Now what are the uses of these cables? Well, the flat cables are the cables which should be used to lay, let's say, under the carpet, or you don't want to do any sort of casing caping, but you just want to run the cables. Then flat cables are the best cables that you can use to lay in your home theater room, so that they don't consume too much of area, and they can go smoothly under any surface or over any surface. So that's the flat cable. Then, as I said, you have got cylindrical cables, which are primarily used by a lot many people while doing the casing caping or piping of cables within the house or the home theater room. And the last one is an armored cable. So an armored cable is basically much more thicker and heavier cable, which is used, it's more like an industrial grade cable, but also used in some of the high-end home cinema rooms or big cinema halls that we visit. So those installations are done using armored cables. Now these are the three types. Which one should you buy for your home? Well, as I said, based upon your use, if you're buying or if you're doing an installation in a ready house wherein you don't have much scope for doing a concealed wiring, then you can buy a flat or a regular cylindrical cable. If you're making a really hi-fi home theater, which is very, very premium with all powerful equipments, then we do recommend for a conduit installed cable or an armored cable that you can go for. And as I said, if you're going to just do a casing caping kind of thing, buy a cylindrical shaped cable. So this is about the shapes of the cable. Now the second parameter was the thickness. So you've got 0.5 mm square mm, then you've got 1 square mm, 1.5 square mm, 2 square mm, 2.5 square mm. There are so many thickness cables available in the market, which might confuse you as to what should you really buy. Now ideally, okay, when you buy an HTIB package like home theater in a box package, you will see that they supply you with small cables. Now these small cables are nothing but 0.5 or maximum 1 square mm cables. Are they good enough? Probably not. They would not be a great cable for your home theater equipment, and the basic square mm that you should use should start from at least 1.5, and as I said, if your system is more powerful, you should think of going towards 2.5 square mm. So for all the guys who are planning for a dedicated home cinema room with a budget of 5-10 lakh rupees and above, always remember to put in 2.5 square mm cable as the basic cable so that it can do much more better job in delivering the sound. Now the third parameter is the gauge. Now gauge and thickness is very much similar to each other. You have got various gauge. It's mentioned as AWG. The AWG full form is American wire gauge. So we use an American standard to define the cable. Okay, certain brands don't use any gauge. They might just tell you that thickness of that cable and they won't mention the AWG reading for it. So there's a table which I'm going to share across which will give you a rough idea as to how the AWG standard and the thickness, that is the square mm, works. So it will be of good help to all of you. Now coming back to the AWG, 18, 20 mm, 16 mm, 16 AWG. So these are good, 16, 18, 20 are good for your HTIB packages. But for those of you who are planning to do a much more better job, always remember that put 12 or 14 AWG cables, because these cables can support high data transmission, and that is what exactly is required when you're putting up a lot of money in your hi-fi home theaters. So 12 or 14 preferable for good installations. 16 to 18 AWG is good enough for your HTIB or satellite home theater packages. What cable should buy? Obviously there are tons of brands out there, you know, A to Z brands available with your dealers as well as online. But one of the common brands that you can buy obviously is Amazon Basics cable as well. It's pretty nice cable. I'm going to share the link of the better cables in Amazon Basics in the description so that you can use that link and buy those cables as well. An approximate price for these cables would start roughly from around 50-60 rupees for a 18 or a 16 AWG and can go up to 300 rupees per meter for a 12 AWG cable. Now, is it worth it? We'll come to the budget and how much should you allocate for the cables last. But let me all remind you that the common speaker cable that is used in the home theater application is an oxygen-free copper cable. Many electricians lay a speaker cable in the house which is not generally an oxygen-free copper cable. It is a lead-free copper cable. And lead-free copper cable is not the right cable to install in your home theater. So make sure that the very first thing that you do is check the speaker cable. Is it OFC or is it LFC? Now, oxygen-free copper cable is recommended for low frequency transmission because it can handle those kind of vibrations and bass, and it has got hardly 0.001% oxygen in it, which means that you will not have any air losses, you will not have any air sound quality drops in these OFC cables, and compared to LFC they are going to outperform much more better for your home theater experience. Always remember, oxygen free copper cable, check the thickness or the gauge of the cable, and based upon your installation you can select the shape of the speaker cable. When we talk about cables, one of the most important factor while connecting that speaker cable to your devices is the connectors. Now I know for a fact that we use direct cable connections while we connect it to any AVR or to the speaker. Certain satellite speakers do not have a provision to connect any connectors, and you have to rely on inserting the cable directly inside. But when it comes to the connection at the AVR end, a lot of companies or a lot of blogs you'll come across which are recommending people to use either banana plugs or sped plugs. Now banana plug is a good connector, but one of the drawback of banana plug is that it does not create tension around the speaker connection with the banana plug, and that is why these cables or these connectors may not be the best ones that you need to buy for your connections. You can rely on sped plugs because sped plugs are good. Even if you just directly connect to wire binding post, you will not see much of a difference, and that is also fine provided it doesn't cause disturbance or it is not loosening the thread of that binding post. So while connecting the cables directly to the AV receiver without any connector, make sure that you are using the threads properly and you're not loosening them up, because even a small gap between the cable and the binding post may cause a lot of disturbance or may create a lot of losses, particularly in the signal transmission. So always rely on good plugs. As I said, banana plugs okay, but sped plugs always recommended. And if not, when you do speaker binding post, make sure that you are not pulling off your post or the AVRs directly. You are taking proper care while connecting them to the system. So that's it from my end, guys. Hope this video helped you all with making right decisions as promised at the start of the video while buying home theater speaker cables. And always make sure to pay attention to the cables when you're buying home theater equipments, because I know that is one of the things that we have been least focusing on all this while, but those are important because, as I said, cables are like veins in your body, and a small misconnection or a small lag or small clot anywhere in the veins can cause a lot of damage to you, your body and your organs. So similarly for home theaters, always pay attention to the cables because these are nothing but one of the best factors to give you the best output from your system. So thank you once again. I, Tanmay Mehta, your home technology consultant from Touchwood Automations, will see you all in my next video. Thank you.